I want to piggyback off of my sobriety video that I did. Some people had some questions that were good, so I wanted to address. So, when you let something go, right, whether alcohol, weed, other drugs, caffeine, etc., but you still say that you were addicted or identify as an addict, you are still keeping yourself trapped in a lower way of operating. And what I mean by this is that to let things go and rise into a higher state of consciousness, and I don't mean rise. When I say rise, I mean your physical body in this world is rising. You've already remembered you're in a higher state naturally, right? So you're just getting your actions, your will to align with that inner knowing, okay? Because you're already there. Now your will just needs to align. You're not grasping that when you were drinking alcohol and doing all of that stuff, that you were acting out characters that were attached to you that you had not integrated or processed. So all of your emotions have different storylines associated with them from both your lifetime and previous generational lifetimes. So a lot of people live life, and I did this, where I compartmentalized my emotions prior to awakening. Meaning, I rarely cried, and I had different friend groups that brought out different personalities inside of me. And I would keep everything organized separately in order to cope with life. And I smoked a lot of weed. And I didn't fully connect all of the dots of why I felt like I felt everything. But I knew that I was meant to do something. I don't know how to explain it. The way I was living my life was not me. When I awakened, I integrated all of the emotions from all of the generations that have existed in humanity's timeline. And I had to forgive all of them. I had to process them and I had to forgive them. And when I awakened, or when I woke up finally, there was like a 3-4 day period, I was at peace. I remember getting up from my bed and just being like, I did it. And when I got to that point, I realized that when I had done the different acts in my life that I had forgiven, right, with the alcohol, the drugs, the sex, just all of it, that I was acting out characters that I was meant to analyze and forgive so I could realign with my true state and then live it to help other people remember their true state too. And just by embodying my true state, other people will remember that the acts that they are acting out are not them, and they are belief systems and storylines that are attached to them that they have been feeding unconsciously. And now that they are conscious of it, they don't need to feed it anymore unless they choose to. This is where freedom of choice comes in. So if you continue to identify as an addict, you're not grasping that you are playing a character. And you're also not grasping that, most of the time people drink alcohol because in environments where they're in, they don't really want to be there. And their spirit's telling them to go away, but they want to look social or they want to blend in or they want to do all of that stuff. And so they drink to suppress their inner knowing that's telling them to get out. Because to truly align with one's true state, you're going to go against the norm for a while. But that's only because we're changing the norm of society. And it takes us aligning and embodying that alignment in all times and having true faith that our actions are helping change the world, that the world will shift. But it starts with us. So you're not an addict. You were feeding a behavioral pattern that was integrated into your system through generational patterns of how to cope with reality. And you've now decided that you don't want to do that anymore. And you just let it go. And when you let it go, when you stop identifying that you're an addict or that it has any hold over you, it will leave your consciousness. And what will happen is your inner knowing will help you, tell you to not be in environments where those thoughts can even come into your field. And I'll give you an example. Previously, when I would go to restaurants still, thoughts would trickle into my mind to get a drink. But they were very faint because I was never really into alcohol anyways. But they're still there because I'm in the environment. So when you go into environments where things are happening, it's because the belief systems or the entities or whatever you want to call them are feeding off of people that are doing those behaviors. So when you go into those environments and you're not fully anchored, those thoughts will try to feed into you to get you to act it out. When you are aware that this is how it occurs, you can close it off. But then you have to ask yourself, why are you in those environments in the first place around those spirits? You need to leave, right? This is how it works. And this is why if you don't let certain people go in your life that have entities or spiritual thought forms attached to them and they're acting them out without being aware of it, you can sometimes absorb that. And that's a whole process as well. So a lot of this is really asking yourself, who do you really identify with? Like, why do you really believe that of yourself, right? And people have commented too about caffeine. I'm telling you, caffeine is a tricky one because you don't think it's really messing you up because sometimes you feel more alert, you feel more alert on it, you feel like you can hear yourself clearer on it and all of that, but go off of it for a couple weeks and you'll be like, oh my gosh, it's not good because it perpetuates a fight or flight. It makes you make irrational decisions too soon. It makes you feel a sense of urgency that's not real. And in reality, everything happens more from a parasympathetic state where you're calm, centered. And the best way to find that state is to do, in my opinion, physical movement that you enjoy and learning that in intensity, you can always find calmness. And that brings you peace and trust. So then when it's time for you to act, you know when to act and you know when to not act, because not acting is also acting, and it's reprogramming your nervous system to be okay being calm, because you have to recognize that all of the way this world operates was created by humanity because humanity doesn't understand how the interconnection with God really works. Because a lot of the world believes that it's not connected to God, but it is, and the belief system that we're not causes the distortion. So you have to analyze every single thought that comes in your field and ask yourself, where does this belief come from? And does this feel aligned? And this happens every day, all day. This is the work. And like, obviously you go outside, you interact, but you should be paying attention. Like everything is nothing is coincidence. And the worst thing you can do for yourself is just go through life like you're just trying to make it to the end, because you're missing the whole point of why you're here, and you're missing how important you are to this puzzle. Like everyone has a part to play, and everyone's life matters. Everyone's important. It doesn't matter how much money you have. It doesn't matter what you do for a living. The fact that you exist is so important. And the more inner work that you do on yourself of finding that inner peace and alignment with God that's always with you, you're changing lives so much more than anyone that creates some crazy, company that's selling product that's really bad for all of us. So just keep that in mind as you're healing yourself. And that's something I've had to unprogram, is that fight or flight, work, external, to seek constant validation and trust that I am doing the work and it's all internal and I will reap reward for it. And I do keep feeling like I'm getting stronger and stronger every day. And so you just got to keep going and going.